Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today we're exploring Robert Sapolsky's Behave, the Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst. This book is a monumental exploration of the science behind human behavior, from the split-second decisions we make to the millennia of evolutionary pressures that shaped us. Sapolsky takes us on a journey through different timescales, examining the factors influencing our actions, from 1 second before a behavior to millions of years prior. He emphasizes that understanding behavior requires a multifaceted approach, incorporating neurobiology, endocrinology, genetics, childhood development, cultural influences, and evolutionary pressures. It's not about finding the cause, but about understanding the intricate interplay of these factors. Let's start with the brain, the final common pathway for all these influences. Sapolsky uses the triune brain model as a metaphor, with its 3 metaphorical layers: the automatic regulatory layer at the base, the emotional limbic system in the middle, and the cognitive neocortex on top. He emphasizes that these layers aren't separate but interact in complex ways. The limbic system, particularly the amygdala, plays a crucial role in aggression and fear. Interestingly, he notes, the brain region most associated with fear is also heavily involved in generating aggression. The amygdala quickly assesses threats, even subliminal ones, and its activity influences everything from our fight-or-flight response to our social judgments. But importantly, the amygdala doesn't act alone. It's part of a complex network, interacting with other brain regions, like the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex, especially the prefrontal cortex, is where our more complex cognitive functions reside: working memory, executive function, gratification postponement, long-term planning, and the regulation of emotions. Sapolsky's mantra for the frontal cortex is that it makes you do the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. It exerts control over our impulses and allows us to consider the consequences of our actions. However, this doing the harder thing takes energy, making the frontal cortex vulnerable to stress and fatigue. Moving beyond the brain, Sapolsky explores how sensory stimuli influence our behavior, often unconsciously. From the color of someone's skin to the smell of fear, our brains pick up on subtle cues that shape our perceptions and actions. He highlights the unsettling speed with which our brains categorize people into us and them, even based on arbitrary differences. Hormones also play a significant role in shaping behavior. While testosterone is often linked to aggression, Sapolsky argues that its effects are more nuanced. Testosterone doesn't cause aggression, it amplifies pre-existing tendencies and is highly context-dependent. It's not about the hormone itself, but the social and environmental context. Similarly, oxytocin, often touted as the love hormone, promotes pro-social behavior, but primarily toward members of our in-group, potentially increasing hostility toward outsiders. The book then shifts to a longer time scale, exploring the impact of childhood experiences on adult behavior. Sapolsky emphasizes the brain's plasticity, its ability to be shaped by experiences, particularly during development. He highlights the importance of early nurturing and the devastating effects of childhood adversity, from abuse and neglect to poverty and exposure to violence. These experiences can alter brain development, increasing the risk of various problems in adulthood, including depression, anxiety, and antisocial behavior. Our genes also influence our behavior, but again, it's not a simple story of genetic determinism. Genes don't determine behavior, they influence tendencies, propensities, and vulnerabilities. Sapolsky emphasizes the importance of gene-environment interactions, explaining that a gene's effect depends on the environment in which it's expressed. He also debunks the notion that genes act alone, highlighting the complex networks of genes and regulatory elements that interact to shape behavior. Moving to an even larger scale, Sapolsky explores the role of culture in shaping behavior. From collectivist societies that prioritize group harmony to cultures of honor that emphasize reputation and retaliation, Our cultural backgrounds profoundly influence our values, beliefs, and actions. He highlights how culture interacts with biology, shaping not only what we think, but also how we perceive the world, and even where our eyes focus on a picture. Finally, Sapolsky examines the evolutionary roots of behavior. He explores the principles of natural selection, kin selection, and reciprocal altruism, explaining how these forces have shaped our social behaviors over millions of years. He tackles the long-standing debate of whether human nature is inherently selfish or cooperative, arguing that we are neither. We are a profoundly context-dependent species, capable of both extraordinary altruism and appalling violence. So, what's the main takeaway from Behave? Sapolsky argues that our behavior is the product of a multitude of factors interacting across different timescales. There is no single cause, no bad apple, no warrior gene, no culture of inevitable violence. Instead, our actions are shaped by an intricate interplay of biology, environment, and experience. What are some easy-to-remember heuristics from Behave? Remember the importance of context. Don't ask what a gene or hormone does. Ask what it does in a particular environment. Be wary of categorical thinking. Our brains love to categorize, but this can lead to harmful stereotypes and biases. Cultivate your frontal cortex. It's the part of your brain that helps you do the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. Recognize your irrationalities. We are not always as rational as we think. Appreciate the power of social connection. We are a social species, and our connections with others shape our behavior in profound ways. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.